You're watching Slingshot the podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power. And today's episode is called Computer Love.
Computer love.
You know, this is a love letter for you, Charles Gregory, my co-host,
gosh.
because I know, right, the official title of today's episode is Computer Love, AI, right, artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Love it
I
or
get
hate it,
I get it.
right?
Yeah.
Love it or hate it, AI, right? And so, Computer Love.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna talk all things artificial intelligence right now.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
And I know this is your wheelhouse, so
We'll make it happen.
when I was writing this out, I was like, he's gonna be very happy about this episode. Or he's not going to be because he talks about it already all day long.
All day long. Yeah,
Right.
sure.
All right, well, you know, all of our episodes are named after song lyrics or titles. And Computer Love, this was a jam. Computer Love, back in 1985. We were still young bucks
Yeah. Yeah.
in 85.
That's right. Doing
Yeah.
things we wasn't supposed to be doing, I
Yeah.
think.
Zap. This is the Zap
Zapp
Band.
and Roger, right?
Yeah, the Troutman family,
Yeah,
the
that's
Zap Band.
Wow.
Yeah, this is some greats came out of this. Shirley Murdoch and some others came out of this era. So.
Shirley Murdoch was one of the greats.
Computer Love. I don't
Yeah.
sing. Go ahead, you got it.
I
Though.
don't sing either. I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'll say some of the lyrics
Yeah.
though. Well, you know, I'll talk them out. So it's computer love,
right.
right? And then it says, you know, I've been searching for someone
That's right.
who can share that special love with me.
Come on, sing it.
And your eyes have that glow, right?
Sing it.
Could it be your face I see on my computer screen?
Shooby doo wop. Come on, shooby doo wop.
Hold on, I got one more.
All right.
Need a special girl to share in my computer world. I no longer need a strategy thanks to modern technology. All right, there you go.
Right, there you got it. You did it.
Shooby-doo-wop, do-we-do. I wanna love you.
That's right.
Shooby-doo-wop. There you go. All right,
Computer Love. There we
cool.
go.
There you go.
All right, hopefully we took some of y'all back in time.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about, did anybody sample this? This is recent. I can't. Somebody knows. Somebody out there. Somebody sampled this recently. Computer Love. 1985 Zap Band.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, this is what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about modern technology. And
Yeah.
let's take us back. So we just talking about when we were 11 and 12 here.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember writing research papers in middle school and high school?
I sure do. I forgot what they used to call that. It was what was the
Thesis
unit?
statements?
Yeah, the thesis statement. But I'm trying to think of when we think of technology, it was a piece of hardware that we used to use that was like a typewriter, like a small computer. I can't remember the name of it that we always used to write on there, right? And it used a digital screen on the piece of hard equipment.
Right.
And we used to write our term papers and things like that on there. But yeah, the thesis statement, that's
Word processor. It's like a
yeah, it's a word
Yeah,
processor.
word
That's
processor.
right. Excuse me. And then and we because again, Temple is a research university, and so they literally taught you, they programmed you how to write your paper, you know, from the thesis statement to your supporting, you know, arguments to your debate to formally your conclusion, right? And one thing that I think schools, not all schools, because I'm only talking about some of the inner city schools, I think they failed a lot of the kids by not showing them how to actually write a paper.
Yeah.
You know, they say do a book report. They just want to know what you read in a
Right.
book. They don't show you like, okay, you start with something
Right, an
and end with
outline.
something.
You start with an
Right,
outline.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I think it's a little different now. But shout out to, because I don't want to point the fingers at the teachers, because we have some teachers really putting in some work for the youth and for the kids out there, and they not getting paid what they deserve, right? And so that's why I love our team. I'm always advocating for the teachers because they don't get what they deserve, and now it's even harder. Some of the horror stories that I'm hearing in these schools is just, you know, just so depressing, and they still out there cranking in and putting in the work. So shout out to the teachers. Yeah.
Well, I remember being depressed doing these research papers and having to go to the library
Yeah.
and go through the card catalog and find these books that I
The
needed
Dewey
to write
Decimal
the
System.
Dewey Decimal
That's right.
System, the card catalog,
That's right.
and then you had to write a bibliography. And
Ah,
that was
man.
the thing that always got me in my papers. I always got points taken off because I could never get my bibliography correct.
Ah, yeah, yeah. That's one thing that I achieved, and I wrote really well, and I think I learned the fluff early, how to fluff the paper, how to add more words to paper, which some people struggle with. But yeah, I always was a writer, for sure.
So we had to go through it. If we wanted to write a research paper, we had to go through
Yes,
it.
we did.
We had to go research thing. I remember going to the library at like 8 o'clock at night. It was a hangout spot, but it was also like I need to go figure out information about this paper I'm writing. I need to go and find the microfiche and then put it into the machine and then make a photocopy of what
Yeah,
was
the
on the
microphone.
microfiche to write my paper. It was wild times.
Yeah, that's funny. What she's referring to, that's funny.
Microfiche.
Wow,
Remember microfiche?
we're definitely telling our age
Yeah.
right now, But it was this little film, this digital piece of
Right.
film that you would put into like the light, the
A
reader,
reader. Yeah.
yeah, and you can kind of see you
Like the
from.
newspaper articles.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Right.
And so they archive them differently now. I don't even know if they use it.
It's digital
Yeah,
archives now. Everything's
yeah,
digital.
everything's digital now.
So
Interesting.
now we could just go on to Google or
That's
whatever
right.
and
That's
type
right.
in whatever it was that we were using microfiche for.
That's right. That's right.
Right? Google is microfiche.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, today's generation, they have much more information at their fingertips than we
That's
ever
right.
did. This could make them smarter or could make them not know how to research to do certain things. So, what's your take on that? What's your take on, our generation versus the current generation as it relates to them having to write research papers today?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think now we're in a digital age where, it's the gift and the curse. I think, honestly, I think these kids are so much smarter than we were at that age. And it's because they have so much more information at their fingertips. I mean, just learning, history, we was confined to what we know. Even like, just think of what you learned in Black History or when
Right.
Black History Month came.
Right.
The top three was Martin Luther King,
Rosa
Malcolm X,
Parks.
and Rosa Parks.
That's right.
They were the top three, right? But now you're hearing so many. I mean, I'm still amazed that some of the people that I've been hearing, and I'm just like, wow, they did that. From the traffic light to the hair dryer to even people who curing cancer, like
Right.
through the what is that the super what's that, the water gun,
The super
super soaker,
Yeah.
things like
He
that.
got paid.
Yeah, he got
He got
yeah,
paid. Yeah.
he got really got paid.
Yeah.
But a lot of that information we wasn't necessarily privy to,
Right.
right, during that time. But now you're able to look and just put in a prompt or ask a question. Who are Black inventors?
Right.
And it's right at your fingertips. We couldn't do that back then.
We
so-
had Encyclopedia Britannica,
Yeah,
right? The almanac.
and you was lucky if you had money, because
Right.
most people had a unfinished version of the encyclopedia. It was from A to Z.
Yeah.
I think we only was able to get to A to F or something, and we borrowed from F to everything else. Right? We went to the next door neighbor, which is something that I don't think a lot of kids are privy to. That we were privy to is being able to walk down the street, knock on, our neighbor, Miss Johnson, and get a loaf of bread, or just sit at their light until, mommy ain't get home yet. I don't have a key. Well, you come, baby. You sit on the couch and wait for me, watch TV, that type of thing. And so it's a lot of things that I say that, we gave and we take, and they gave and we take. And so I guess it balance out.
Yeah. So, we're going to talk today about AI,
That's right.
artificial intelligence. I'm not talking about the answer. I'm not talking about Allen Iverson. I'm talking about, because you got to let some folks know, because
know.
even the Department of Education's,
AI.
what did she think? She thought it was L or something.
Yeah, I
She didn't know
right?
what it was.
Like, what?
Right. So we're talking about AI today, artificial intelligence. Love it or hate it.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to talk about today. We have strong feelings about it. I
A lot of
know
people do. Yeah.
about how it's used currently,
Hmm.
maybe how it shouldn't be used. And so here we are.
Yeah.
So how is it? You're the expert. So how is it being used today? How do you think the average high schooler is using AI right now?
Well, a lot of teachers pushing back against the
Mhm.
usage of AI in the schools and in the classrooms, and to some degree, it's a good thing. I think the challenge becomes when schools are talking about innovating. AI is on the forefront of innovation, and if you're not using it, then you become left behind.
Yeah.
And when we look at, other countries who are already incorporating AI in their learning, some of these kids are kindergartners, right? And they're on AI and utilizing AI. I think we need to, my personal opinion, and I speak for myself, I think we need to think of AI as just a tool. And when we used, anything from a computer to, if we want to go back to the Dewey Decimal System, that was a tool to get the information,
Yeah.
right? So we didn't have to just, call people. We had something that we went to the library. We was able to find the information, the archive information, and that's what it was a tool to find,
Yeah.
right? And I think AI is the exact same thing. Of course, anything can be used to harm, but you can use it for good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we're talking about AI, what are we talking about? We're talking about ChatGPT. What are we talking about? What is AI?
Well, that's interesting, right? Because that's the first thing most people think of ChatGPT, but AI is in everything. You know how you call, I'm a T-Mobile carrier, not to promote them, but
Mhm.
you know how you don't get to talk to a receptionist yet? You're talking to AI. That's AI. Everything has AI, and when you Googling, guess what? That's AI.
Mhm.
It's everything is getting. You just not thinking of it like that.
Yeah.
When you think of ChatGPT, it's a little different, and that's a LLM. That's called a large language model, right? And so that's a little different than Google per se, but AI is in everything.
Yeah.
Your phones,
Your
it's in
calculator.
your
Use your
calculator.
calculator as
Yeah,
AI.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially on your phone, right? And so there's a lot of things that incorporates AI. You just don't know that it's AI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Well, people have a lot of opinions
yeah.
about AI, how to use it, how not to use it, should it be used, should it not be used. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back and come join us. We're going to talk about all things artificial intelligence today. You're watching Slingshot the podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power, at New Millennium Multimedia Studios. All right, we're back. Thank you for joining Slingshot the podcast. And here we are today with our episode entitled Computer Love. And how does that relate? Well, we're talking about AI, we're talking about artificial intelligence, and computers are everywhere. You need them to do anything. They're in our phones, uh, they're in all the electronics that we're using in our homes. So, artificial intelligence is everywhere. But I think right now, when we're thinking about it, the hot topic today has been Chat GPT. And I'm here today, happens to be my co host, but he's like an expert in this, internationally known to rock the microphone and rock AI, right? Charles Gregory. And so I would love for you just to share a little bit about, what you know about ChatGPT. What do you think are the important things for people to know? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What are the good things about it? What are some of the negative things about it?
Yeah, so I said earlier that ChatGPT is a LLM, large language model, but you have like Llama, you have a lot of Grok. That's the one that that's on Twitter. You have Claude. You have a lot of models that's out there that people utilize, and I like it. The one that I utilize the most is ChatGPT. I ChatGPT everything. You just have to know what, again, you utilize it as a tool. Artificial intelligence, that's what it is. It's artificial intelligence because you're training it, you're teaching it, right? It's not thinking for you, right? You're giving it the information, so it's learning by what you give, right? And what everyone across the world is getting, a large language model, right? And so, if we start to think of it as something that can assist us with the things that we're doing, then it's nothing too fair. I think, there's a saying that says it's nothing to fear but fear itself, right? Some people, if you don't know, generally people are fooled to what they don't know, right? And so once you know it, you just like, oh, okay. I hate to use this analogy, right? But this is something that most people say. If you put a gun on a table, can a gun kill you? No, the only people who use it can unalive you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if you can use it for good, safety, protection, or you can use it to hurt, maim, right? And so I say you utilize it for good, and it's good. That's how I see it. People used to use a typewriter, right, before they came out with a computer, right? Do you choose to use a typewriter versus a computer? If you use a computer, why? The question is why. Is a computer better, or is it you just like the typewriters? A lot of people push back against the typewriter, right? And then when we started to think of the internet, a lot of people started to push back against the internet. Oh, what is this thing with that little at sign, and you
The
got
World
yeah,
Wide
the
Web.
worldwide? What is
Yeah.
that? That's only something that's going to last for a couple seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we still have it now. You don't even have to put www in
Mm-hmm.
in the search bar, right? And so everything innovates. And so if you look at it like it's just innovation, people won't be so intimidated to use it. There is a lot of pushback against it, and I believe that that's necessary, because without any uh, ethical kind of policy, then you'll have people just using it for the wild wild west,
Yeah.
right? And I like the idea of people saying like, yo, I don't like, what is this thing? And because they can get information, you learn more, right? But it stops people from utilizing it to hurt, right? And so that's how I look at it.
I know this social media trend that came out a few weeks ago was about using ChatGPT to make a caricature of yourself
Yep.
and for it to tell you some characteristics about yourself.
Yep.
And a lot of people utilize it for the very first time in
Yeah.
trying to make a caricature of themselves.
Yeah.
So I have to ask this question.
Yeah.
Was that just us providing all of our personal information to some big motherboard for it to know all of our lives and everything about us?
Well, what you're referring to is generative. That's generative AI, right? You're generating images,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, for the most part, I mean, if the short answer is pretty much yes,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you can't. It's the same thing as saying, okay, if I'm shopping, right, the algorithm knows what you're shopping. Anything that you say, have you noticed that if you're just talking about something, all of a sudden that pops up? Well, that's AI.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know that. That's AI. It hears you, is understanding. The algorithm shows, oh, this is what you like. You click on one thing, now all of a sudden other things pop up. You're starting to get ads. That's all AI, right? And so it was a little fuss about that. Now people like that happens, right? And so I think it's going to be the same thing. But which, again, what you're referring to is generative AI. You are training it. You're training it to know what you look like, right? Because some of the earlier models, right, would not generate an image. You could put your picture in there and it wouldn't generate an image that looked like you, or you would have like seven fingers or something
Yeah.
like that. Now it's really good. And you're like, wow, it becomes scary,
Yeah.
right? Because it is so good. And
Right.
that's when, some of the challenges, or people really being nervous because now they generating deepfakes,
Right.
right? And
The
deepfake,
deepfakes is very scary. I'm
yeah,
very scared about
yeah,
deepfakes
yeah,
because they can just take your voice and they can make you say whatever
hundred
it
percent,
is they want you to say.
100%. But with the trained eye, you're able to kind of identify what is a deepfake, especially with certain models that's out there now. But it's getting better, and in a
Yeah.
minute you won't even be able to identify it. I will say, however, that if we're talking deepfakes, they're creating models, right? I'm saying like fashion models, right? That are generative AI, which you don't even know that that's a fake model,
Right.
right? And people like Vogue and these major fashion houses are actually using this, and they just unveiled. I want to say it was Vogue that just unveiled the first kind of ad or presentation of their AI models,
Yeah.
right? Fashion models, right? And
Someone you don't have to pay a contract. You don't have
that
to pay
part,
any money. There's no contract.
that part.
You don't have to worry about anybody being a diva.
That part. And so when we talk about the idea of losing jobs.
Yeah.
That's what people are scared of. Right now, models are losing jobs. But I say, there's a lot of things that you would lose your job with. Think of the coal industry.
Mhm.
Are we using coal anymore? No, we went to a different, now we're using like gas and natural gas and things of that nature, right? But before then it was wood, right? We went from wood to
Yeah.
coal to, and so I just think of it like this. If you're utilizing AI, maybe learn how to use it to create those models. So now you are in demand to be the person generating those models, creating a job for yourself, right? Yeah.
So I'm leading a voting rights organization.
Yeah,
We've got a
sure.
staff, right? And the things that the staff are using AI for, it got to the point where we were like, we have to create an AI policy for our organization.
100%. When I do consultations with organizations, that's the first thing I say start with. Before you do any AI, before you utilize any AI, first create a AI policy first. What is your policy, right? And then from there, once you create your policy, start with what your pain points are with the organization and utilize AI for your pain points. Don't just utilize AI for AI's sake,
Right.
but understand what are the issues, understand how AI can help you first, and then utilize AI for that. Everything else will come later, but people are just, that's why you'll hear the term AI slop, right? Because they just,
AI what?
AI slop. It's called AI slop. And what AI slop refers to is people creating some of these. I don't know if you've seen like Donald Trump doing that dancing thing,
Yeah.
all these dancing videos, right? They call that AI slop because it's no real thought to it, right? Because you have true artists actually creating and
Yeah.
designing when it comes to AI, right? So the problem then becomes, what are you using it for? Are you just using it, or is there any intention by it?
Right.
And when you have intention and policy, you start to think of ethics.
Yeah.
And when you incorporate the ethics, then you don't have to question whether AI is a tool to hurt, because you already going by your policy. It has ethics in it, and that's what I help businesses
Yeah.
and corporations do.
I mean, call me old school, call me whatever you want. It's just like I believe in paying people for their work.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of those people who does not use the self checkout at the grocery store, right? I want somebody
Yeah.
to keep that job and be the cashier and ring me up and
That's
maybe also,
AI too, but go
right?
ahead.
Yeah. And also probably bag my groceries. Like I want all of that. I want someone to keep their job. I don't use the self checkout at the CVS. That's not my job. I didn't get hired by CVS to, ring up my own groceries. And if I make a mistake and I don't ring up something, I might go to jail for theft, right? Like
Yep.
you didn't train me
That's right.
to work at CVS. So I don't use that. So I'm maybe call me old school, but I feel like in my mind, AI is cheating. It's like it's cheating to me. And we've had this
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, absolutely.
But that's how I feel. Like, and I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that feeling. Like, I feel like people use it, especially when you use it for the most mundane things. If you're using AI to help you respond to an email, it's just as fast for you to type in thank you received as it is to hit the button for thank you received. And so, at what point is AI just taking over for very, I get it. You want to save time. You can hit a button that says thank you,
Yeah.
message received versus typing in thank you, message received. I get it. It's a quick time saver. And like,
No, I
when,
get
when, when is it
it.
too much?
No, and it's fair, and that's fair. When a lot of people ask, when is it too much? When do I put the boundaries up? When do I throw up the red flags? But I challenge you to even ask that question to like a chat GPT. What should I do? What is AI? What is the benefit of me using AI versus not using AI? Ask it the questions, and that's something else that a lot of people don't think of. Just ask the question. Any question that you just ask it the question. Ask those questions. How can AI be beneficial? How can AI hurt? This is my business. I feel that AI is very detrimental, or I feel like I'm cheating when it comes to you utilizing AI because, and say what that
Yeah,
because is, and
yeah,
see how AI responds to
right.
you.
I'm in the business of interpersonal relationships,
Yeah,
right? Where if you're an organizer, you have to organize with other people to accomplish your goal.
right.
And for me, it's like if I'm putting together a strategic plan for how I'm going to organize and mobilize folks at the polls,
Yeah.
I want that to come from my brain.
But see, that's the thing. See, and I want to caution the idea of the thinking that AI have to do everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't, right? And so one can argue that the work that you do can touch more people by utilizing AI to help market, right? If you're using it in your marketing, is that cheating? If you feel like it's cheating, then you wouldn't be calling your phone company talking to AI then.
Yeah.
You won't be using your computer for Google then.
Right.
You won't be doing certain things, right? Because it's AI and everything.
Yeah.
So are you calling a phone company like, why do you have me, because I want to talk to a real receptionist? Because generally I do the same thing. I don't want to talk to, I need to talk. I keep saying I'm pushing 0 or 1. I want to talk to customer service. I don't want to talk to AI. But now they putting those benchmarks up where you have to talk to the
Yeah, you
AI
have no
before. Right?
choice.
You have no choice. And so if the majors are doing it, then what then happens is you start to become, I say this, you're not going to lose your job. AI won't replace your job. It's going to be someone who's utilizing AI that's going to replace your job,
Mhm.
right? And so the scary part of that is if you have another organization that's doing the work that you do, well, if they understand AI and utilizing AI the way that it's supposed to, they might outpace you because they're using these tools.
They're more productive.
They're more productive, they're more
Yeah.
efficient.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say you need to talk to a consultant to say, okay, well, sit down with you and your team and say, hey, you know, this is what we do. These are our challenges or pain points, or this is what we would like to do, and have them walk you through what are the possibilities, right? And that's where you can start to say, okay, well, this what I wouldn't like AI to do for me, and then work within that framework, right? Because hey, he talked. We had a gentleman on for our last show that talked about math, right? So when we talk about the steps, you know how many parents can benefit in helping their children if they understood AI and helping them understand Common Core?
Hmm.
Now you can sit down and teach your son, you can teach your kids how Common Core is relevant with what he's saying if he's not available.
Right.
Right. So we're talking about tools, utilizing it like a tool, and I think you'll be all right.
Yeah.
But it's a legitimate fear, and I always say, when it comes to me, I think ethics
Yeah.
first, right? And the problem with ethics and policy when we come to law and legislation, the problem with AI is that if I put a policy out with AI 2 weeks ago, well, 4 weeks later, it's not going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
That's how rapidly AI
Right.
is innovating, right? And so that's the problem right now. So that means you have to create your own markers and own boundaries on what you want to leave. But I think that you specifically, your organization can benefit from a conversational AI piece because everyone can't always talk to you or get with you. So you need something to kind of weed out and transcribe the people who needs to get in contact with you or needs to book you and put all that in a space where you're able to access when you're on the road.
So instead of having an executive assistant, you're saying to use ChatGPT to
No,
take.
I'm saying use your executive assistant to source through all of the information that's coming through AI to give to you, not to replace her, because you need a person in the process,
Yeah.
not AI doing the process. You need a person in the loop of
Right.
that, right?
I'll give you a perfect example is that we were putting on an event talking about environmental justice issues here in the city of, here we are right now in Delaware County. So we were in the city of Chester putting on an event talking about how problematic the incinerator is in the city of Chester,
Right.
that is burning 7 million pounds of trash a day, 7 million pounds of trash a day,
Wow.
which is leading to infant mortality. It's leading to maternal health issues, it's leading to all kinds of carcinogens.
Environmental, yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So as we were getting ready for this event that we put on President's Day, we needed to create a graphic for the event, right, to advertise. One of our staff members used ChatGPT to make the graphic, right, and it looked really good. And this is our first foray into how can we use ChatGPT. Well, we use the AI. We continued on. It ended up taking us much longer to use ChatGPT to make this flyer than if we did it ourselves in Canva or something else. because you have to then talk to it and say, take away, the date is wrong, change the date to this. You got to give it commands. It took so much longer to do that than it would have for our social media manager, Suji, who made these graphics behind us, right, without
Right,
ChatGPT,
right, right.
right, who made these graphics to say, you know, that's her job. So here we are using ChatGPT, and we could potentially be taking away the work of our social media manager, who happens to be a graphic artist.
No, no. See, that's where I push back and
Yeah.
say, no, your graphic artists need to understand the usage of AI or something like ChatGPT. Because if she understood that workflow,
Yeah.
she wouldn't have had to. That's where the whole idea of prompting engineering come in, right? Because if you start correctly in the beginning, you don't have to fix later
Right.
on at the end.
Right.
So if she knew how to start from the beginning, she wouldn't have to make the adjustments at the end. And that comes from just being specific with the prompts, right? Understanding prompts, engineering the prompts accurately, because I can almost guarantee that, especially your workflow when it comes to uh your marketing, especially when it comes to marketing, putting out clips and everything utilizing AI. And Tish, who also is part of this production team, knows really well. But that will help the organization. I mean, I'm a proponent of ChatGPT and all these LLMs because it makes people more efficient. So I am a little biased, but I am a stickler on ethics, right? And so if in fact you do have someone utilizing AI, you just say you can use it, but these are the boundaries. It always has to be a person in the loop of what you're doing.
Right.
AI shouldn't do 100% of
Right.
the work.
Because if AI is doing the work, then what are we hiring you for? What are we paying you for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that part. But you also need to be able to prompt the AI. Still can't.
Yeah.
You can't just say, well, maybe.
Well,
Let's
if I'm
search it.
prompting AI, like if I want to make 20 graphics and I'm just throwing out prompts and the AI is making the graphic, I can make 20 graphics in a day versus a graphic artist on our team maybe can do 2 or 3 a day.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that when you use that, you can absolutely put somebody out of a job.
Well, but I'll say it like this: if you have a graphic artist, right, that's doing graphics, you can then take what the graphic is and then throw that into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you add or not
Refine
ChatGPT?
or
Yeah.
clean this.
Can you clean this up?
Yeah.
Can you add this and that? Can you make this? Can you duplicate
Right.
this and turn it into another color? I'm familiar with like Illustrator and Photoshop, and a lot of that stuff takes work just to layer and
Yeah.
make certain things. But if I can just take what I already created, my work
Right.
that I already created, throw it into something like Kling and Nano Banana and create these are other like generative AI models, and enhance that image or duplicate that image, then I'm being more efficient.
Yeah.
Now I have time to do more work,
Right.
right? And so anything that someone has an excuse for, there is the other side of that though. But again, it would be person in the loop means that you have your graphic artist that already is creating the work to
Right.
throw into an AI model to create enhancements.
All right.
So
I
you have
hear
to
you.
think of it that way.
I hear
I'm
you
just saying.
talking. I don't know. I'm still not
No, it's
convinced
all
all the
good.
way.
No,
But
it's
that's
all
what we're
good.
gonna do. We're gonna take a break.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back for our final segment of this episode. Computer love, right? AI. Do we love it or hate it? We're not talking about the answer. We're talking about artificial intelligence right
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
And I want to share with you some information that maybe I'm not sure if you know about as it
Okay.
relates to how AI and the need for data centers is wrecking our environment
Yeah.
and what harm that is causing us. And so, and our need to be more productive, and our
That's
need
right.
to get the job done faster, and our need to have someone else generate information for us or graphics for us, what it is doing to our environment. So we're going to be right back. Stick around. We're going to go back and forth here. We're gonna have counterpoint versus counterpoint.
Yeah, no
All
doubt.
right. See you in a moment. You're watching Slingshot the podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power, at New Millennium Multimedia Studios. All right, we're back. Slingshot the podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power. Today's episode is entitled Computer Love, right? And we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence.
That's
And
right.
we need to let Linda McMahon know what AI stands for, our secretary. our Department of, our secretary for the Department of Education, she didn't know, right? So AI, it's AI, it's
He's a
not how,
basketball
it's
player.
a thing, right? So we were alluding to before the break the harm that is absolutely being done in this
Hmm.
moment to our environment based upon what is happening with the need to create data centers that can, these are large facilities of giant computer servers that can store and process digital information
Yeah.
so that we can have streaming, cloud storage, AI tools, banking, social media, and all the things
Yeah.
that rely on these data centers. So these data centers are starting to pop up
Yeah.
in lots of places. Pennsylvania is getting them, lots of them. Western PA, Central PA, data centers popping up. They create jobs. They're good paying jobs. And at the same time, they are using a lot of our water and electricity, and it is causing harm to our environment. And some studies say that if we continue at this rate, we may not have clean drinking water to drink in less than a decade. So, you're the AI
No.
expert over here. You've been hearing about the harms that the data centers are causing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why you see, and what was the irony of that is, you need people who understand AI that can do the advocacy work to talk about stuff like that. Because if you have no clue with AI, you don't even know what it's doing that create that. Like a lot of those data centers use a lot of water to cool those computers. Did you know that crypto does the same thing? Do you know that, when we talk about the fast fashion and we talk about the environment, do you know about beef and environment?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of thing that destroys the environment, right? But we have to talk about how the advocacy to push back a little or push a little to say, okay, what are alternatives or what can we do to minimize,
Right.
right, the usage of certain things, or right, it's just like, if we're talking about crypto, if we're generating these coins, if we're generating crypto, right, this currency, and we're utilizing the environment, well, what if we just created certain coins or a certain amount of crypto, right, as opposed to constantly generating different crypto? So it's the same thing with AI, right? If someone constantly is using,
Yeah.
to your point, right, if someone is using AI, right, to kind of create all of these, say for example, flyers that you was talking
Right.
about, right,
Right.
and they messed up and they have to go back and do it again, well,
Yeah.
you can minimize that usage if you are an artist, graphic artist, you
Right.
created yourself first
Right.
and then throw it in there.
Right.
So the usage is lessened then. And so the argument then becomes, do we minimize or we become more efficient with the usage so we don't have to use so much and destroy the environment that much more, right? And so that's where we at with it.
So it's like I found myself feeling like a hypocrite, right? Because I saw the flyer that was made using AI, using ChatGPT, and I was like, this is a nice looking flyer, right? And then I was like, this is taking a lot of electricity and water to generate.
Mhm.
How am I an organization that is trying to promote environmental justice?
Mhm.
And I know that I'm using a tool that will absolutely rob our water supply in a decade. Like how do I rectify that in my mind? And so this is what I've heard lately. It's just like, okay, well, don't use that part of it because that takes a lot more energy and water.
Right, right.
Just use it for fact finding or just use it for, I currently use ChatGPT as like a thesaurus,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like that's the only way I personally use it in my work. I'll write whatever the program is I want to write. I'll write however I want to organize and mobilize. And then I will stick it in to refine it, or I will stick it into ChatGPT to say, I'm stuck on this phrase. What's a better way? Or what's a better word I could have used?
Okay.
Right? When I'm grant writing, when I'm doing all things.
Right.
Right. So I find myself saying, okay, it's not that bad. I know it's bad, but it's not that bad if I'm just using it this way and I'm
Right.
not using it to create flyers and I'm not using it to make an illustration or caricature of myself.
Right. So I asked you this question, right? Who knows you better than you?
Nobody.
Cool. Who knows ChatGPT better than ChatGPT?
I don't know.
Well, probably OpenAI, right? Or the people who
Yeah. Yeah.
created the model. So I use that reference to say, if you are an organization that that promotes environmental justice,
Yeah.
and you are fighting with the idea of utilizing AI because of the environment.
Right.
Why wouldn't you be an advocacy to fight, not necessarily fight against, but to advocate about being more ethical or more
Yeah.
efficient using AI? Because that is environmental justice,
Yeah.
right? You're able to argue not necessarily the need for AI, but the need to be more responsible using AI. You're still advocating environmental justice.
But I don't know if you can put lipstick on a pig, right?
True,
And
true.
I don't.
That's true.
I say that because
That's true.
I can say I want to make it more ethical, and I can say, okay, well, if you're going to put up data centers, make sure you're using union labor. You want to put up data centers, make sure you're paying people livable wages that are creating this. You want to put up data centers, make sure you're not putting them into neighborhoods that are predominantly black neighborhoods, and you're going to impact the quality and life and health of black folks in this community, right?
Right.
I can say all those things. And someone who's working with some integrity, a company working with integrity, putting up these data centers, could go along with those things. But it's putting lipstick on a pig to the fact that still in 10 years, no matter how ethical you're treating your workers, what you're doing is still going to rob the environment of our water and resources. This is why electricity bills are going so high right now. It's the demand for electricity, the demand for water. All of these things have repercussions. And so, do we just go along right now and say, all right, well, we're being ethical. We're saying to the developers, make sure you do this and that and that. But it's not stopping it from taking away our clean water and putting our electricity bill sky high.
100%. I
Yeah.
agree. Two things can be true at the same time. No, 100%. I agree with you. Which comes to the ethics part of it, right? It's about understanding that, all right, what if I told you that the idea of the environment and the damage of the environment by way of people not understanding what the world the internet did,
Yeah.
right? Every people used to talk about the internet being very harmful to the environment, and one day the internet was shut down and kill the world.
Right.
I think it was as soon as we hit 2000, the internet was supposed to break the world or something like that, right? Or was it 2020 or something like that? But what we found out was, well, no, that didn't happen. And guess what? We still had the internet,
Yeah.
right? Still here. Couldn't stop it. Now, AI is noted as being the first creation of something that has innovated so fast and have a huge market that's utilizing it, that is undetectably, well, they can detect the where the rise in how it's moving, but they wasn't ready for how it's scaling, right? So to that point is, no one is stopping AI at this point, right? Which is, if you talking jobs, either you get on the train or get left or get ran over, right? So we know that it's going to be here. If there's issue or if there are challenges in the idea of AI, why wouldn't you advocate for the ethics or being responsible for it instead of just being, I guess, quote unquote, against it, and now is scaling so much when you could have been the person to be like, wait, y'all need to put on roadblocks. Yo, we need a speed bump here. This is what a speed bump looks
Right.
like, right? Environmental justice, XAI. How would you, I would like you to act as a X, Y, and Z environmental justice specialist. That's informed in policy.
Right.
And I would like you to tell me how AI can benefit or support
Yeah.
the idea of environmental justice.
Yeah.
And see what it says.
So this is what I believe. I believe that research has been done, but there's always going to be capitalists who want to make money.
100%.
And they don't care what it spit out and said to you to do. They're going to want to make this money. They're going to want to get the tax revenue. They're going to want to get incentives. They're going to want to get anything that they can to
Right.
make more money for their stakeholders, their shareholders,
I
to
agree.
make more money and make more money for themselves. And so everything we do is bad for the
Right.
environment,
Right.
right? If we're eating meat and the gas is created by slaughtering cattle
Yeah. That
creates a
part.
gas that's
That's right.
right. So there's everything we do is bad for the
Right.
environment.
Right.
If we know this is bad for the environment right now, then yes, we need to set up some roadblocks,
That's right.
some speed bumps along the way. And is this something that we're willing to live with? Are we willing to live with possibly not having clean drinking water in 10 years so that we can be more productive at work? Like, is that what we're willing to go with right
Yeah,
now?
but I caution underscoring AI. That's the primary responsibility of destroying our drinking water. When we just, what people don't know, there has been a big sewage spill somewhere around, like in DC and that whole tri-state, where it's destroying all of the drinking water. Like, it's wild, right? That has nothing to do with AI.
No.
That was a sewage spill, right? And so, are we doing the same advocacy work, or are we arguing about that? So, I just say that to say that people are generally underscoring AI when it's other things that's doing pretty much the exact same thing. Now, that said, two things can be true, right? That's not to advocate for AI. That's just saying that we need to understand the full scope and then start there. I mean, again, we talking about Research One University, Temple University. We understand what the argument is. We do the research. We start with the what the idea is, right? We do the research, and then what is the opposing argument?
Yeah.
So the opposing argument would be, what do we think someone would argue about what our point is?
Mhm.
So that research start there, and then you might get the aha, oh, this may help, which was a good uh understanding that I had when it came to doing papers. I got that aha moment because I thought it was, why should I come up with opposing argument, when it made me think, oh, this is how they think.
Mhm.
And I had to research how the opposing person would think if they was going to argue with me, and that made me, that opened my mind up. So
Well, you
that,
have to know the counterpoint.
yes, counterpoint,
You have to know the
absolutely.
counterpoint so that you can make your argument. This is what I know. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't control, maybe we can control sewage flooding into our waters.
yeah.
We can control lots
No,
of
we
attempts.
can. There's
Yeah, there's
yeah,
ways,
yeah, there's
right, to
ways, right?
control
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah.
But we know for a fact what data centers are doing to our
We
environment.
know what sewage is doing to our environment.
And if we can stop one of
I'm
the
just saying.
two or both of them at the same
Right,
time, right?
right, right.
I bring that as an argument. So
No,
we're running so long because
oh yeah,
this was
that's
great,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I
no,
learned a lot here
for
today.
sure.
Hearing from Charles Gregory, and I'm still in my feelings about
Not,
AI and
and
how
that's
to
good.
use it, and how it shouldn't be used or how we can use it to be more productive. I just don't know if I want to risk future generations' wealth, health,
Hmm.
so that we can have more information faster.
All right, well, make sure you don't buy no more bottled water.
Look, look at so many things we do. Everything
So
we do
that's what I'm
is
saying.
reckoned.
So
But we
I'm
know this one.
right.
If we know
We
we
know
can,
about bottled water
right?
in the plastics that we're drinking too,
Oh heck yeah!
that we give to our babies and
Oh
stuff
yeah!
like. I just say that to say,
This is why we're so
I'm
unhealthy
being
now.
funny. Yeah, I'm being
Yeah,
funny. You know, I'm being
yeah.
funny right now. But what I will say is, you have a right to be concerned, which is the reason why I would say, especially for your organization, that um, you need to add, when it comes to your advocacy, when it comes to environmental, because you need to understand how AI is truly affecting the community so you can advocate against it. In order for you to do that, you have to understand AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's the work that needs to
All
happen.
right. Well, that's why we brought this episode here today. I'm sure we're not alone. I'm sure
Yeah, for
maybe in
sure.
your workplace, y'all are talking about
Mhm.
how we can use AI, how we shouldn't use it, how are your kids using it to do their homework, what are you allowing your kids to do, what do you not want them to do as
Yeah,
it relates to ChatGPT and other, open source,
yeah,
you know, things that can assist, help us be more productive. But at what cost does our productivity come?
yeah, that part.
So with that, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Put it down into if you're watching
Yeah,
this, right? Subscribe. Make sure you're subscribing. to Slingshot the podcast. Leave us some comments. We're all over social media. Let us know what's going on in your workplace. What's going on in your home? How are you all utilizing the most recent AIs and what's going on with you? Are you someone that took the bait? Did you take the bait and did you put all of your personal information out there? So now not only does it know what it looks like, what you look like, but it knows about all the things you love and don't like. Right. So we just have to be careful. I thank you all for joining us today. We'll be back with this topic again because there's so much to talk about. All right. And with that, I want to wish you all a great rest of your day. Thank you for making Slingshot the podcast part of your day. Have a good one. I'm Kadida Kenner, and you're watching Slingshot the podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power.